Who's that wonderful girl? Could she be any cuter? Who's that wonderful girl? Oh look, here comes the suitor.
I am Couch Coop and we're going to be covering Bloodborne on the PlayStation 5. You have a Yharnam-sized mountain to cover with this game. One of the things that interests me about YouTube content creators and video game reviewers is when they talk about a particular title, they come in quite sterile. They don't really say what the game means to them, what happened when it came out, where they were in life. With Bloodborne, it was a critical moment in my sort of both systems and gaming back catalogue. Now, it was an interesting time. 2013 was when the PlayStation 4 was released, full stop. I didn't live in Europe or the UK, I was in the Middle East. We didn't get it any earlier. My point being, I didn't have a 9th generation console and I was poised to buy one. Now, I know a lot of you out there are big fans of Sony and I am too, but it's undeniable that Xbox 360 was one of the better systems of its generation. The PlayStation 3 was late, the developers couldn't rinse all of the power out of it, and Microsoft just cleared up back then. So I'm really considering getting the new Xbox because Titanfall is out as an exclusive. Then Bloodborne was announced, and I was a huge fan of Dark Souls 1 because that was released on my Xbox 360. So it made the decision for me about what system to get. Little did I know that the PlayStation 4 was just going to dominate the market for that generation, and poor old Microsoft have taken a massive backseat, I feel, over the last couple of years. Things have got a bit stronger with Game Pass. Bloodborne was quite literally a deal breaker for me and a staunch Sony exclusive. Interesting, we don't see a lot of that from anymore. What is with this slow-moving, wandering, annoying footage? I want to cover the game's performance. Man, 1080 is a good day. 30 frames per second, nothing on the SSD. This game's been out over half a decade. It's kind of unexcusable. I know a remake is on the horizon, but against that Dark Souls 3 review I did recently, Bloodborne does not look that great on a 10th generation system. It's just a standard rollout. Some of you might remember Bloodborne had controversy with load times. They were massive. They were like a minute and a half. They really have sorted that out, but I don't see any noticeable increase now I'm running this on a 5. This guy though, I get so annoyed with these people. I've even looked at the comments. There's people like, legend, cheers for this. No one's pulled them up on the flat out lies they put in the thumbnail. This guy's a massive offender. If they weren't at 2 million subscribers, I wouldn't be angry. Bored for this crap is ridiculous. It has to stop. If you get the chance to swing by one of these channels, tell them that Couch Coop sent you and you got a mention in one of his videos. Okay, let's move on to the next chapter, which is actually about the video game itself. I did try and beat this well, for everyone does who's put replays on this game, and I swear they elongate their health once it gets shorter. I was a couple attempts at this, I was thinking this is actually doable. It's not doable, not for me. I want to talk about Bloodborne's position in the great list of Souls-likes and From games. I want to sort of test if it still holds up to a lot of the new Souls-likes that are out. Lies of P is an extremely strong game, and I feel took a lot of influence from this. What with the health regen on attacking people that take away your health, there's that risk reward everywhere. Bloodborne was the first one to sort of implement a scheme like this, and it was a real refresher and quite shocking to a lot of us Dark Souls loyalists. And after doing the Dark Souls 3 video, a lot of people were in the comments saying, by the way, Bloodborne is my favourite Souls game, and it is technically Souls-like, even though it is from FromSoftware. How complicated is this? A Dark Souls Souls-like that's from FromSoftware. Yeah, it's simple, this YouTube malarkey. Doesn't even bother commentating. Leave it, mate, leave it. One of the main reasons die-hard Dark Souls fans sometimes recoiled in horror at this game was because there was no shield. There was nothing on your left hand other than a gun, and so that instigated a stagger. You had to time it, so it wasn't like you could just hold L1 on all the time and just not take damage. You had to dodge. You had to use your brain, you had to look for openings in the enemy's attack patterns, and it really bred sort of reading the enemy, and it was faster. That circle to the side just felt so much more natural. The game was very ahead of its time, I feel, with its pace. This section, you get to know this section if you're stuck on Father Gascoigne, right? You get to be able to do this with your damned eyes shut at one point. I dodged the boulder with a roll, something I've never actually achieved before. By the way, I did finish this game all the way back on the PlayStation base level machine, and it was one of the finest games to finish. It's got multiple endings also. I briefly want to cover its complete detachment from the Dark Souls lore with its subject matter, and believe it or not, I was not into Lovecraftian space horror, the cosmic darkness, until I came across Bloodborne's sort of backstory and NPC characters and its angle with the whole sort of blood and religious aspects, the old gods. It was fascinating to me, and all those years have passed. I've done nothing but sort of look back into that author's work, and some of it's fascinating. So my plan was, I've got so comfortable with this weapon in two-handed mode that I'm not going to use the stagger on Gascoigne. I'm just going to hardcore it, do it Lies of P style. Damn, man. You have to stagger him, I feel. I watch speedruns and they stagger him. It is a bit of a stagger tutorial, I think. It's a bit OP, the openings are massive. One thing that has changed on the Souls front is the sort of ease of life with energy, or getting the things that replenish your energy. What happens with Bloodborne is that you do have to farm for health. Now, Demon Souls fell into this trap a little bit, I feel, and they kept that system with the remake. What I'm referring to is the blood vials. They will run out. They're not dropped by the person you're fighting. You have to farm. You have to go wandering around. Same with the bullets, to replenish, to then take the fight on again. When you've got the Game Awards going on, you're 40 and you're on your second attempt at finishing this game, you kind of understand why those ease of life changes have been put into modern Souls-likes. Get the music box, Coop, get the music box from the woman at the door, and then Gascoigne holds his ears because it's his daughter's toy. Tragic story, but bloody handy if you want to butcher this guy. His final phase, Frenzy, is also absolutely ridiculous and so difficult to predict. You're just spamming triangle to take the vials and playing that music box, trying to just get a swing in. I did it by the skin of my teeth. Back in 2015, it was more than the skin of my teeth this game cost me to get past Gascoigne. I remember being so damned elated. The Taurus Demon and Gascoigne were two massive ones for me. Bloodborne also has what I call the two-stage leveling system. So you have to go to the lantern and then take the choice to go back to the Hunter's Dream to then level up, or move around. So traveling is not technically even done from a lantern. It's okay, it's 2015, it's to be expected. Dark Souls 3 is bearable as well. When you play something like Lies of P and you realise how slick that system is, I do want to talk about the cleric briefly. He is optional, as I understand it, but back when the PlayStation 4 base machine was sort of a fledgling system, this scene or this boss was a bit of a seller. The moving parts on him, the sheer grand idea of the bridge, how far he jumps and the parkours when he lands, it was definitely a seller for that 9th generation graphical fidelity. Just having that camera discussion with myself about the lock-on and thinking about Remnant from the Ashes. Remnant from the Ashes 2 has just gone onto Game Pass. It's a phenomenal piece of software and should have got nodded to a lot more, I feel, in the awards this year. But back to the point, that doesn't have a lock-on button. You can't focus. You see this white dot? This means the camera is focused on the beast itself, and it allows for sort of central cinematic scenes, but the game struggled a little bit because of this narrow arena. It got itself in a bit of a panic sometimes. I remember feedback from the reviewers about the camera, but I feel again it was a little bit ahead of its time because of the lively movement of the cleric himself and the sheer size of the whole boss. It's understandable that that camera can get in a bit of a panic, and I feel it holds up quite well in 2023. I know boss fights that don't look this good now.
Wretched outsider, trying to fool me to open this door.
The setup of Yharnam itself completely freaked me out as well. Nobody is welcoming, everybody's got strange regional British accents, there's like hedonistic laughter in the background behind the doors, and you're having the most harrowing, terrifying gaming experience of your life, and you can't get any help from anybody. Everything wants to kill you in Yharnam. It's completely epic. I grew to sort of love and hate that gun mechanic that replaced the shield. This goes for my playthrough in 2023 also. The window to get the shot in is surprisingly small, and the risk for not getting the shot is quite punishing. So I sort of migrated to going two-hand with particular enemies. It was a really fun mechanic and a great idea, and I think it should be worked on. I think Bloodborne should be officially sequeled and not remastered. We need more of Yharnam, bigger, more detail, and 10th generation graphics. I'll put a caveat in that they can remake it if they do it as good as that Resident Evil 4 remake, because that is near on a whole new game, and that has actually been put forward for game awards because of that status. That also brings me on to the best ongoing game category. Has got Cyberpunk in it again, which is a single player offline game, and it's gone up against stuff like Apex and Genshin Impact. Thinking about doing a video on it. I don't know what sort of money and CDPR involvement has been rolled out there, but Bloodborne is an ongoing game and it was patched, yeah? Why can't we put that in the list? So there's two things that are guaranteed to happen to you with the enemies in Bloodborne, and they may happen both at the same time. They normally did with me. First is that you fight an enemy and get their health down to such a small amount that it's not physically viewable on their bar and you assume they're dead. The second is that you'll be fighting a standard enemy, and most of them have got like a 1 in 7 chance of going to a set of moves that involve 16 slashes in a consecutive row. As I say, most of the time, both of those happen simultaneously to me. Now, getting to official Yharnam. Outside Yharnam, the skies changed, the enemies have changed. This is where the game just suddenly blooms and says, I am the best third-person ARPG on your PlayStation 4, and you need to finish me and be in awe of my visuals. And sticking on the visuals as a sort of close-off, it didn't really dampen my experience massively. The game is so involving that it sort of takes a backseat once you get to mid and late game, and the mechanics behind upgrading all your weapons. I bought the Kirk hammer, didn't have enough strength to wield it. Story of my life. The game still retails at $20. It is worth getting on your PlayStation 5 if you don't own it, and it is still, can you believe this, one of the only true Sony PlayStation 4 exclusives left. It hasn't gone to any other systems. This was definitely a system seller for that base level machine, 100%. I very much enjoyed doing this review. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Dragon's Dogma and Dark Souls 3 I'll put in the descriptions. I will of course see you down there.